USCIS just tightened immigration discretion, what it means for you. USCIS has just announced a critical shift in how officers exercise discretion when deciding immigration cases. The policy is effective immediately and is already part of the USCIS policy manual. This means immigration officers now hold greater power to deny cases, even when applicants meet the basic eligibility requirements. The rules are no longer limited to checking boxes. In today's update, we will explain what discretion means, how the new rules raise the bar, and why applicants must prepare carefully before submitting any new filings. What discretion means in immigration cases. Discretion in immigration law is about judgment. It allows officers to weigh an applicant's overall record, compliance, and history rather than simply verifying eligibility through documents. Even if you meet the technical requirements, a case can be denied if negative factors outweigh positives. That power is not new, but it has now expanded. Previously, discretion often applied in categories like adjustment of status, visa extensions, or humanitarian requests. With the new changes, the role of discretion has grown broader and more decisive. Why this policy change is important. The change is not a guideline or a proposal. It has been officially entered into the USCIS policy manual, which officers nationwide must follow without exception. Because it is now written into the manual, discretion becomes the law of the land. Officers have no choice but to apply it more strictly in every relevant case. This means applicants should expect tighter scrutiny. A case that may have been approved last year might now face denial. The margin for error is much narrower. Heavily negative factors now carry more weight. USCIS has declared that involvement in terrorism, anti-American activity, or anti-Semitic organizations is now a heavily negative factor that can nearly guarantee denial. Even indirect involvement, such as support, promotion, or endorsement, is treated as a major discretionary issue. Officers are instructed to view these factors as deal breakers. This expands the scope of denial risks. What may have seemed like minor or distant associations in the past can now destroy an application almost automatically. Compliance with immigration rules is critical. Another major update is the weight placed on compliance with immigration laws. USCIS will now carefully evaluate whether you followed proper procedures when seeking admission, parole, or benefits. Filing under the correct category and following the rules precisely is considered a strong positive factor. It signals respect for U.S. law and strengthens the discretionary review. In contrast, breaking immigration rules or bypassing procedures is a strong negative factor. Even technical missteps are now treated as signals of unreliability or disregard for the system. Employment-based immigration under the new policy. Employment-based petitions are directly impacted. USCIS has clarified how discretion applies, and the differences are important for professionals, workers, and investors. For national interest waivers, discretion is central. Officers weigh positive and negative factors equally. Your background, history, and compliance record carry the same importance as your professional contributions. For most other employment-based petitions, discretion usually does not apply. Meeting the eligibility requirements is enough. Still, officers may deny if fraud, misrepresentation, or other negative conduct is discovered. Investor petitions under EB-5 face the most pressure. Discretion applies heavily when financial records raise red flags. Even vague documentation or inconsistencies may now lead to denial under discretionary authority. Students and non-immigrant applicants. The update also highlights student visas and non-immigrant benefits such as extensions of stay, reinstatements, and changes of status. These categories are now subject to stricter discretionary analysis. Officers will review not just eligibility but the applicant's entire immigration history. Previous overstays, violations, or lapses that might once have been overlooked can now weigh heavily. This means that students and other non-immigrant applicants must prepare more carefully. A seemingly small error or past violation can become the deciding factor under the updated rules. Why compliance history matters more than ever. Compliance has always been important, but it is now central to discretionary decisions. Officers are directed to reward strict compliance with rules and punish even minor violations more severely. An applicant with a clean record of timely filings, proper entries, and respect for status will be seen more favorably. This can help balance other weaknesses in the case. However, violations such as overstays, unauthorized work, or missed deadlines can create a pattern that officers interpret as disregard for U.S. laws. That pattern can now outweigh everything else. The USCIS Policy Manual Update. The reason this change is significant is that it is embedded directly into the USCIS Policy Manual. That manual serves as the official handbook for all officers. Once a rule is written into the manual, it overrides previous practices and becomes binding across the system. Officers are required to apply it exactly as written. This removes flexibility that once existed at local offices. It ensures consistent enforcement nationwide, but it also makes the process more rigid and unforgiving for applicants. The wider impact on families and workers. Families filing for adjustment of status must now worry not just about eligibility but also their history. A past overstay could weigh more heavily than before. Workers applying for visas will face tighter evaluation as well. A clean compliance record can help, but even small missteps in the past may now affect final outcomes. For students, the pressure is even stronger. Any reinstatement or extension request will be judged on the applicant's entire record. Discretion may be used to deny despite eligibility. Real-life examples under the new rules. Consider a student who fell out of status after missing enrollment due to illness. In the past, an officer might have approved reinstatement. Now, the lapse may cause denial. Imagine an EB-5 investor with legitimate funds but incomplete records. Previously, USCIS might have asked for clarification. Today, discretion allows denial based on vague or inconsistent documentation alone. Or think of a family applying for adjustment of status after an overstay years earlier. That violation may now weigh so heavily that it cancels out their otherwise strong eligibility. How applicants should respond. Applicants should prepare every filing as though discretion will play a decisive role. Every form, document, and signature must be accurate, timely, and fully compliant with the rules. Even small mistakes should be treated seriously. USCIS now interprets errors as signs of unreliability. Accuracy and attention to detail are stronger defenses than ever before. Seeking legal or professional review has also become more critical. With officers instructed to apply discretion strictly, there is little room to fix errors after submission. Why immigration is now less forgiving. The new rules make U.S. immigration more rigid and less forgiving. Officers have broader power to deny. Applicants must carry more responsibility to present flawless cases. Negative factors such as terrorism, extremism, or anti-American associations are automatic denials. Compliance errors carry heavier weight. Even small mistakes are magnified under the stricter discretionary framework. This reality requires applicants to view their immigration journey as a test of both eligibility and character. Documentation, behavior, and compliance all now play a decisive role. Final thoughts. Immigration has become more challenging. USCIS officers are trained to use discretion more aggressively, making denials more common even when requirements appear satisfied on paper. Applicants must adapt to this stricter environment. That means preparing thoroughly, following rules precisely, and avoiding anything that could be seen as negative in the discretionary analysis. If you are planning to apply soon, take these updates seriously. Build the strongest case possible and never assume eligibility alone will carry you through the process. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon for future updates. Thanks for watching, see you in the next.